But our next participant, Suren from Red. Welcome to the show.
Okay. Hi, I'm Suren. I'm the founder of a company called Red, REDD. We manufacture 3D printers. So it's a very niche technology. It's like we help people, product designers specifically, convert their digital designs into physical objects, and then the vice versa also via 3D scanners. Okay, when we started out about roughly 3 years ago, it was a very niche market. Not many people knew that there was something like this even existing. So we started out teaching 3D printing to people around via workshops, guest lectures, etc. And then we invited them to try out our services. And then we got into manufacturing of 3D printers. So we started supplying 3D printers from across the world, from China, UK, US, etc. At some point of time, we felt that all these machines are pretty expensive and we could manufacture our own 3D printers. We started doing it a couple of years ago, and we've shipped out roughly about 2,000 plus 3D printers in the last 2 years. And what also we found was a good amount of these people who buy 3D printers for their domestic purposes, they're not really using it. So we are actually providing these people a business model by enabling them onto our platform, making them our partners. Selling their services, we are helping them selling their services in their locality. So that's exactly what we do.
What is the cost of a 3D printer?
So we have 3D printers from 20,000 rupees to 10 lakhs that we manufacture, and we also.
So you're a manufacturer of
yes
3D printers.
Yes.
Oh, where's your manufacturing facility?
Chennai.
20,000 to 10 lakhs.
Yes.
That's a lot of.
Right. So how many of the 10 lakhs products have you sold, and how many of the 20,000 have you sold?
10 lakhs, just one of them.
Okay.
20,000 ones, 1,000 of them.
1,000 of them, right? So in total, you said you sold about 2,000.
2,000 plus.
2,000. So earlier you were importing it.
Yes.
I'm assuming 1,000.
Those are pretty expensive.
Okay.
So all the machines that we were importing and selling were actually above a lakh.
Above a lakh. Okay.
Okay.
So now you stopped importing completely.
We do. We still trade a few machines that category that we do not manufacture.
Okay. And what percentage is that?
That's a minimal percentage.
Minimal. So I think you can probably ignore that.
So who are all your end customers who are all buying this printer?
So it depends. I would say that any industry has a requirement for 3D printing today. For example, anywhere there's a product design. For example, the tables that are in front of you, the chairs that you're sitting on, everything is a product. Whoever is designing those products actually goes to the molding industry, dyeing industry, which actually is a very expensive solution. By moving to 3D printing, we are actually giving a 1000x impact in the pricing alone. Okay. So that's, I could say again, in every industry. And because of all this, there's a good amount of educational possibilities also in 3D printing. So that, I would say, colleges, schools are starting to adopt 3D printers. So we are getting good number of requests from schools to set up 3D printing labs, like we had computer labs.
So what is your manufacturing cost of each printer, percentage wise?
So on the lower end ones, we don't really make huge margins, but on the higher end ones, yes. Okay. So lower end ones are more of a quantity game. The higher end ones are more of a B2B game where there's a good amount of margin involved.
So you're break even now, or?
Yeah, we are. We're bootstrapped.
Who's your competition?
In India, not really. We don't really have a competition.
How come none of these guys, HP, all these, they're not into 3D printing?
So HP, or I would say 3D Systems or Shapeways, all these companies are at the higher end. They're talking in terms of 10 lakhs plus. I would say even 1 crore plus. So what we're trying to essentially beyond this point is we're trying to build a distributive manufacturing system. So all these 3D printers that we've sold are actually like a small fabrication unit. You would make any physical object. So what we're trying to do is connect all these 3D printers onto one network, onto our servers, and open this up to design APIs on top. So which is like if you want something, for example, today you buy shoes by going to a shop, okay, where you get standard sizes, and these are actually manufactured somewhere in leather industry or somewhere in China. Probably in the next 20-30 years, the industrial revolution 4.0 will occur, where distributive manufacturing will be a major thing, which means that there will be micro factories around every city which will manufacture all these kind of things. So we're trying to make every 3D printer into a fabrication unit like that. So if you come and upload a file onto the website, it gets pushed to the nearest 3D printer around you, and so you can go and pick it up the next day. That's something that's nobody has done ever in the world.
Do you see challenges of IP coming into play when you try to do that?
Most of the 3D printers, the hardware that we're working on are all open source based ones.
No, the idea, right? Okay, great. I'm doing some molding, so maybe my shoe design or my furniture design. So if I send it to somebody else to do the printing and then maybe they do the fabrication there, do you see me losing my IP there, right?
So there are people who come to us like this. So whatever is on a very strict IP level basis, it's actually done in-house.
Yeah.
Okay, we are not letting them out go into the network. It's done on a strong B2B deal basis.
So
with the
that-
IP
I mean,
to be
with
locked.
your-
There are
with-
NDAs involved in it.
So with your platform that you're building, so you're saying that I could probably get my
Prototype done.
prototype done at somewhere else, but then I won't know if that prototype is really nice unless I see it in front of me, right? First I should see it in front of me. So do you
So
see
that's
that
the
as a
whole point,
challenge?
right? So you could, the first time when you're trying it, you could prototype it in a place around you, so you can go have a look at it once it's done.
Okay.
So today, if you want to prototype, it would take about 4 to 5 weeks, and probably it would cost a huge amount. So I can say numbers, but what I've seen is in the trend, we are creating the impact of about 1000x. If you own a 3D printer, if you are using services, it's still cutting down the cost by about 100x. And then obviously the time that's involved.
Okay, so what you're saying is, if I want to really keep my IP, I could go to a nearest location and then try it
Possible.
out there, and then maybe send it to some place which can print it as well. or
Exactly.
do the actual product.
How did you get into this?
So I'm from a hardware background, electronics, robotics. I used to work as a robotics engineer before this. So every time we used to design something which we wanted
Where
to.
as a robotics engineer?
It was a startup in Chennai called Simple Labs.
Okay.
So every time we used to come out with a different or a design that we would like to try it out, we found it very difficult. So that time we bought a 3D printer, imported it. We used to experiment it. Since I was like kind of into the community, people used to ask me to get 3D printing for them, etc. I saw there's a huge demand, but there's no supply. That's when we started doing 3D printing as a service. And then most engineering companies wanted 3D printers for themselves and not just use services. So we started importing 3D printers. Then we also saw that the imported machines were quite expensive because the importing, the duty, the shipping, etc. And since that we are from a hardware background, we thought we'll manufacture our own 3D printers.
How many years of experience do you have?
Started trading 3D printers roughly in 2014. About 1.5 years later, we started manufacturing machines. So it's roughly about 2 years into manufacturing.
Now, what is your impediment for growth? What do you need?
So we're trying to expand our operations. So we're trying to even raise capital at this point of time.
Why do you need capital?
Since it's hardware, that's normal.
And what you would manufacture only when you have the orders, though, right?
We're kind of doing it at that way, at that point only right now.
Yeah.
So we're trying to stock machines and keep them readily available. That's one. Number two, we're trying to create something like a cyber physical network, which is about all these things connected together, which we can't start charging instantaneously right now because it's quite niche and there's nothing else. So when we have to do all that stuff, we need some kind of a capital backed up to experiment to create such a huge network.
So currently your revenue potential is only when you sell your 3D
Yes.
printer, right?
So services as well as products.
So what is that percentage of services income and manufacturing?
Services is actually, I would say, about 10% in the services and 90% in the products.
Products.
So and the services being somebody comes and says, hey, can you do this prototype for us, and then you help them do
Yes.
the design. What would it be? What if a manufacturer comes and says, instead of really taking your service, can they buy the 3D printer and the software needed?
Exactly. So
Are they
that's
capable of doing it?
that depends on the industry. So that's what I was trying to say. All the engineering related companies actually would want 3D printers in their design houses. But people like architects who want to make models, doctors who want to make implants. So we recently did titanium implant for a skull patient in Pondicherry. They would never buy a 3D printer. They would like to use services only.
Okay.
So the industries are different. Engineering companies, automobile, all these things will definitely buy 3D printers, but not the other industries.
The services will limit you on the growth side of things, right? Because
Not really.
you're-
In my
you're
opinion,
limited.
services market is actually twice that much as the products market, according to the global survey. So what we also realize is whoever buys a 3D printer from us and is providing services in the local area is a competitor for us. That's why we are bringing them onto the platform, making them a partner, and pushing the services into them, and we will be charging them.